Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us from the Royal Australian Air Force is Warrant Officer Eden Stubbings. We warmly welcome the family of Private James Ross Dupresil, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Minister Kieran Cannon, TD, Minister for International Development, Diaspora, Ireland, His Excellency Mr Brendan O'Quarley, Ambassador of Ireland to Australia. We also warmly welcome Mr David Luber, Executive Director, United States Cyber Command, United States of America, and the accompanying delegation. We'll welcome the contingent from the Air Force One Recruit Training Unit, who are also in attendance this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors, as well as students on behalf of Southern Hills Christian College, Bedfordale, Western Australia. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, students. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private James Ross Dupresel. James Ross Dupresel was born in July 1897, the second of 10 children born to George and Sarah Dupresel. Known as Jim to his family, he grew up on the family farm in Quaylen, near York in Western Australia, where his chores included feeding the horses, pigs and chickens, and as he grew older, shearing the sheep. The Dupresel family was active in the local community. His father George played in the local cricket team, and a young Jim received a special mention in the local newspaper after attending a children's ball. There were also challenges. In 1910, the family farm survived what was described as the worst bushfire the district had ever known. In December 1915, James Dupresel enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in Perth. Due to his young age, he got his parents' consent to enlist for active service overseas. On the 1st of April 1916, Dupresel embarked from the port of Fremantle on board the troop ship Ulysses. He disembarked in Egypt, arriving exactly a year after the first landing on Gallipoli. After training in Egypt, he sailed for France and arrived in Marseille in June. At the end of that month, Dupresel joined the 51st Battalion, which was made up mostly of soldiers from his home state of Western Australia. During July, his battalion trained and marched towards the Somme front. Dupresel's battalion was part of the 1st Anzac Corps. Along with other British and Commonwealth forces, it had the task of breaking through the German lines at Pozières and driving a wedge behind the German salient there. The battalion was given the objective of taking Mouquet Farm, a large destroyed farmhouse that offered cover for the high ground. On the night of the 13th of August 1916, Jim's battalion moved into position to the east of Mouquet Farm. The following day, despite a heavy Allied artillery barrage, 4 German machine guns were still firing when the first men leapt out of the trenches and into no man's land. The Germans shelled the Australian lines heavily. At some point between the 14th and 16th of August 1916, Dupresel was killed in action. One of 105 men killed or missing in action from the 51st Battalion over these 3 days, James Dupresel was 19 years old. Over the 6-week period since they had entered the Somme front, the 1st Anzac Corps suffered 23,000 casualties, over 6,000 of whom had been killed. Dupresel's remains were never identified. His name is inscribed on the Australian National Memorial at Villers-Bretonneux Military Cemetery in France. 9 years after his death, his grieving family posted a memorial poem in their local newspaper. It read, "Our thoughts they often wander to a grave so far away, where they laid our dear son and brother just 9 years ago today. In our lonely days of thinking, thoughts of you are always dear. We who loved you sadly miss you as it dawns another year." Private James Ross Dupresel is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private James Ross Dupresel, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial. Wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.